Hello, everyone. Hopefully you can see us. We had a last-minute panic situation. Nope, there we go. No, it's showing me on the Facebook we are live. Yes,
perfect. Live. It's
technology has worked. Dear me. Okay, so hey everyone.
Emergency cancelled.
Yeah, emergency cancelled indeed. But Phil, you don't have controls, right?
No, I've got them right here, Sean. For a change, I'm well prepared.
Can you press the button? Let's just make sure that it is working, because I know it's.
I'm looking at it on the Facebook. We're live on Facebook.
Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, good.
There we go. Fancy. Phil can click the mouse. Ta-da!
Phil
hello, everyone. Hello. Everyone's logging in. Perfect. Fabio's going to catch up with us. Hello. Don, Cara, excellent.
Okay, great. Well, okay, we are live. Welcome to day 3 of the Exit the Hustle Challenge. And today we're going to take a little bit of a step forward into our own futures. We're going to be talking about the billionaire brain. What do billionaires do that the rest of us don't? Or should I say that the majority of the planet does not comprehend? Now, we talked, making sure I'm armed with the right weapons. We talked yesterday and over the last couple of days about where we are right now, the barriers that stop us, where we want to be, which in this case, I'm just going to put an S for success, however success looks for you, and how we're going to get there. Now, today, what we're going to do is we're going to cover a couple of things. We're going to give you superpowers, okay? Doesn't require any radioactive spider bites, doesn't require putting your underpants on the outside of your jeans. No capes are required. Sorry to disappoint anyone that was hoping for that. But we are going to look at how we can acquire the mindset, the skills, and the talents, the different way of thinking that's going to allow us to accelerate our success and get us to our goals and where we want to be. Now, I'm going to cover 5 traits that separate the super successful billionaires from everyone else. And it's a mindset and a set of strategies that you can adapt, adopt, and implement every day in your life. When you find yourself facing a situation, a decision, a challenge, by keeping these 5 things in mind, it will allow you to adapt, overcome, and accelerate past any barrier that's placed in front of you. Now, for years, I didn't think this way, okay? And every barrier that I had to overcome was done by pure determination and stubbornness more than anything else, more than actual purpose and intent. It was because I have a tenacity and I don't tend to give up. Now, the problem is with all the barriers that are placed in my way and have been over the years, it just meant I had to pick the world up, throw it on my shoulders, and keep on walking like Atlas until my legs gave out. And at one point, I was actually laying on a couch, burnt out, physically unable to move because I was that burnt out, psychologically, physically, and emotionally. Because determination and perseverance and pure tenacity and stubbornness will only get you so far. And I realized that something had to change.
Do you mean to say, Sean, that it's not a long-term strategy?
It is. Hustle and grow.
Long-term strategy. Working till your eyeballs bleed. It's not a long-term strategy.
It really isn't. But I thought it was the only way to get ahead. I thought, you know what? And this is something that I hear idiots talk about on stage. And I speak in front of thousands. And I hear some of the most inane bull, insert expletive, that just makes me want to scream at these people. I was like, you are not telling thousands of people that they've got to work from 5 a.m. till 2 a.m. maybe get 3 hours sleep, and that's the way to succeed. Okay. Now, here's a stupid thing. That's what I used to believe, because I've heard that for years. You want to work harder, or you want to get more? Get up an hour early, go to bed an hour later. Okay, that's fine. Now, I get that, but you want to work harder? Wake up another hour earlier, and soon, here's the thing: you're trading time for money. You're trading time for success. What you're doing is you're sacrificing the important things in life. Your relationships, your family, your sanity, all in the pursuit of hustle and grind. I'll tell you right now, billionaires don't think like that. Highly successful people actually don't think like that. They are more frugal with their resources than you can possibly imagine. In fact, one of the things that billionaires do, and people don't talk about this, billionaires don't like spending money. Just because you think you're a billionaire, oh, it's all Rolex watches, private jets, and everything else. Look, at the end of the day, billionaires...
Warren Buffett's daily routine highly amusing. What's one of the popular fast food chains? He quite literally starts
into McDonald's guy. He stops for a McDonald's every morning as he goes to work in his 12-year-old beat-up Cadillac. It's not beat up. It's Warren Buffett. But it's a 12-year-old vehicle, and he lives in a townhouse, which is a pretty average townhouse.
He's lived in it since the 70s, I think. I think it's the mid-70s.
Yeah.
Another way I've had this described, Sean, is making money's a way of keeping score. It's not the be-all and the end-all. It's just a byproduct of being successful in other areas. And that's one of the differences that you know, there's lots of ways of describing this, isn't there, Sean? But that's really what it comes down to. People think differently who operate at higher levels.
Absolutely. So I'm going to list out 5 traits that you can adapt and adopt in your business. And I'm mixing my, I'm mixing capitals here. So there we go. Okay, dyslexia kicking in. So billionaires, first of all, number 1, they think, that would be wrong, deeply. Here's the thing. Every decision goes through a series of filters, and they strip a lot of emotion from those decisions. They think logically, rationally, they think about impact, they think about the consequences, they think about everything in relation. In many ways, it becomes a spider's web. Say, for example, this is one decision they have to make. The question becomes all the impact and the impact of the impact and what else would happen. And if we do this, so they start thinking and extrapolating ideas. You see, one thing that Phil and I talk about all the time is we ask ourselves, what if? Now, here's the thing. We go down and we pursue rabbit holes of thought all the time.
Well,
because Phil and I are deep thinkers. Now, not every rabbit hole is productive. But what happens is as we start exploring these rabbit hole ideas, these concepts and everything else, we ask ourselves and we filter through one big question. I'm going to share that with you right now. Is this unhustled? For everything we do in our business, in our lives, if we are thinking and planning and looking to the future, we ask ourselves, that's a great idea, but is it unhustled? In other words, is this going to require a lot of time and resources? Because time is the currency of the wealthy and successful. And Phil's favorite phrase at the moment, is the juice worth the squeeze? I think he watched some American show over there in Blighty, And
I did catch a show. I've heard the phrase it numerous times. It is one that I like, but I think it's a very apt description, Sean. Are you creating more work for yourself or less work? And if you are creating more work, is it temporary or permanent?
Mm-hmm. And is it worth it?
That's really the filter that we run everything through. And we have many discussions, and this is a great idea. Is it unhustled? No. And at that point, we stop the conversation. It's a great idea, but it doesn't meet our philosophy. End of story.
Now, true story again, adapting from this, we had ideas that got put. We actually use Evernote. We have a shared Evernote, and we have a collaborative little section where we put our ideas. And if we're talking, which Phil and I have talked pretty much every day for the last, God knows, like 5 years.
2013, I think. Yeah, must
okay,
be.
6 years. Yeah. 6 years, okay. And, he's like my brother. In fact, I'm closer to Phil than I am my own freaking brothers. But we have ideas, and we're very complementary in that. And we filter and bounce off of each other in that regard. And then we'll put an idea. It was like, you know what? No, you're right. That's hustled. We'll put it in the filter. Now, recently, we had an opportunity that was presented to us. And you know what? Let's get that idea out of the bucket, because now it's possible. Now it is worth the squeeze. So that, again, thinking deeply, having ideas, discussing with yourself, is this going to help me? Is this going to hinder me? Is this really going to keep me on my, we had that little diagram, and I said, anything that takes you off the tangent of where you want to be, that's part of the deep thinking. Is that going to take me over here? Is this now going to take me to a different destination that's better than the one I had? In which case, okay, new tangent and track. But you think about it through and you question that. That is how smart decisions are made, because you give yourself a series of limitations and filters to process everything through. So thinking deeply is one of the biggest traits of a billionaire. If you let your emotion, your past, your negatives influence them, you've got to be dispassionate about some of these decisions, unless obviously it's directly affecting your emotional state, in which case you take care of yourself and your family and everyone else. That's priority number one. Always. Success for sacrifice of the important things in life is not success, it's a trap. I want to highlight that. Some people get so obsessed with success that they will sacrifice everything that's important to get there. That's stupid. Don't be that person. And I see so many people do that when they burn out, they come to me and I have to put them back on the same course, the same stuff we're talking right now, which want to put them on that, look, redress the balance, cut out the hustle and grind BS, because all that grind is called grind for a reason. It'll grind you down into a very fine powder, and it's not a good place to be. I've been there, I've done that. I literally had adrenal burnout because the only way I could keep going was drinking lots of caffeine and everything else, and all I was doing was burning out my adrenal glands. But to the point was that was the only way I could keep up and hustle and grind, and it literally destroyed me. I had to literally wipe the slate clean. I actually, in my business, had 71 clients, all paying me hundreds of thousands a year, okay? Millionaire status, fantastic, was doing great on paper and public perception. And all that weight was crushing me. Now, I'm doing 10 times more than I did then. Now, because everything goes through this filter and this filter. I fired 71 clients. Can you imagine their faces? Especially when they found out they weren't the only one. I fired everyone. I actually went back. I literally mapped everything else on this very whiteboard here. And I put a big X through massive parts of my business with one inescapable conclusion. I'm going to start from scratch. And I need a clean slate. So I took this. I literally had my entire business mapped out. And I just went like that. Woof. And I tell you right now, that was one of the most freeing moments of my life. When I'm like, okay, we're going to rebuild, but we're going to rebuild it smarter.
There's a few people in the comments, Sean, that are agreeing with you here. They've had similar experiences where they've just wiped the hands of some current business practice. So yeah, you get what we're saying is sometimes you just need to wipe the slate clean. Sometimes happiness is not about the number of zeros in your bank accounts. Sometimes happiness is that, I'm not going to say work-life balance, Sean. I don't personally believe it agrees. It's all one thing, but it's just having that equilibrium is probably a more descriptive way of saying it.
Absolutely. You can build, this is why it's very important that if you're an entrepreneurial spirit, or even a lot of this also applies even if you have a 9-to-5. It applies to your mindset, the structure, the frameworks that you build around yourself so that you can get more done by doing less in a smarter, more strategic way. You see, the other thing, and I'll move on to step 2 because I don't want to, I could actually do an entire session just on this, but I want to kind of speed this up because I want to get through a lot here. Next thing is billionaires keep good company. We talked about this yesterday. You are the average of the 6 people you surround yourself with. That's a quote by Jim Rohn. I agree with that to a certain extent. I've got a slightly different version. I want to be the dumbest person in the room. Why? If I am surrounding myself with 6 idiots, my average is not going to be that good. Okay? So, yes, find yourself a different crowd and surround yourself with those people. That's fine. And that's what you're doing right now. You're part of the Unhustled clan, as we christened it yesterday. And that's great. And you are now surrounded by a lot of really motivated, encouraging, and inspirational people. That's fantastic. And I hope that we are part of that new average for you. But I always want to be the dumbest person in the room when I'm going into a new room because I want to learn from everyone else I surround myself with. I want to be the dumb one. I'd love to be able to share my knowledge and experience and things that I do and strategies and everything else. And I do that freely in a lot of groups. But I love to learn from other people. I mean, recently I was in Las Vegas. And I was speaking at an event, and it was fantastic and great, and some really great people. But at the after party, I met this very interesting person who was telling me about what they do with real estate, an area of real estate I know nothing about. So we got into a really expansive conversation, and I was listening. I was listening to hear, not to respond. I was listening to learn, not just to, like a lot of people do, they just like to talk, brag about how wonderful they are. You know, there's one thing that I got this from my father, was always pretend to be dumber than you are and listen. Okay? So I adapted that to be the dumbest person in the room because I love to listen and learn. Because by listening, you find new opportunities. This conversation, which started off, funnily enough, about cannabis and the legalization of cannabis in Las Vegas and some of the businesses that are involved in, turned into a conversation about real estate investing, which now turned into a new business I'm launching next year. Because we're going to partner up. I know one side, she knows the other, and now we're going to create a real estate investment company. Because I know investing, I know money, I know the billionaire mindset. She has a very great strategy about real estate investing, which is so freaking amazing. It blew my mind. Random conversation. So keep good company. Surround yourself with people who are on the same track, who want to move forward. That's great. But surround yourself with people who are smarter than you and always be open to learning. Phil, any comments about that?
I've heard it described in a similar way, Sean. One of the things that I've kind of thought about along the same vein, not necessarily be the dumbest person in the room, but it's more an essence of if you're surrounded by less desirable people who have no motivation other than to sit on a couch and enjoy a beer and do nothing and while away their life, it's easier to bring yourself down to their level and become the lowest common denominator. Whereas in the same vein, if you surround yourself by people who are driven, they're like-minded, they want to advance, they want to progress, they're hungry for something, they've got a destination, as we spoke about earlier in the week, where they've got a mission and they're on it. And you don't have to be on the same mission. You just need to know that they've all got one. So if you're at a slightly lower level compared to where they are, you start to lift yourself up to match them. And that's kind of like my understanding of be the dumbest person in the room. So, the cream rises to the top, Sean, to use the milk metaphor.
Absolutely. No, and I'm going to give full credit to, I think it's Davina, I might be saying the name wrong, had a really great point. It's kind of like tandem climbing. Imagine that you've got a big mountain, okay? Really big mountain. And you're here, okay? It's a really many, many thousands of feet. And you're by yourself trying to climb that. That's going to be a challenge. It's going to be difficult. Most people quit. However, it's like tandem climbing. This was the analogy. It's like you're doing it with someone else. You're surrounding yourself by people, and everyone pulls everyone else up and helps and their support and everything else. If you've got people in and around your life and your sphere of influence who are not supportive, who are not motivated, who are not moving towards success and cutting their own path, they're just going to be like an anchor pulling you back down. That's not cool. You want to go up. So think about the average of the people you surround yourself with.
It's an interesting question from Don, Sean, just before we move on. How do we surround ourselves with people? I think the first...
Fantastic. You can do
it's a very interesting question. I think the first step is to recognize that the people that you're hanging around with are not the people that are going to help support you along your journey.
You can do it virtually. You can do it for free.
There we go.
You can find people who have a good, solid message and are consistent. You can listen to podcasts. You can listen to audiobooks. You can learn from that. Guess what? They may not be physically in your presence, but the message, the understanding, the mindset, and everything else that pulls you forward, that's still an average of the people you surround yourself with. You may not be in direct conversation and communication with them, but it creates an influence. That influence, just like we are right now, we're having a conversation. Now, we actually can have physically a conversation. You're very lucky we have access to each other right now. But it is who you surround yourself with, who you listen to, who you, again, look to in terms of resonance of advice, of mindset, of communication, of intent. You can absolutely do that. These are the people that you become unofficial mentors. Now, in this case, we're mentoring you. We're coaching you. We have this bond and communication, a level of trust and authority. And that's great because we can interact and everything else. That's fantastic. This community, this clan that we've created is your new home. It is your family. And I want to build this so that we can all work together, we can help and support each other and be that structure. But to elevate and listen and beyond, find the people who you resonate with, that you can, that are in alignment with your journey. And again, those are the people you can surround yourself with. Absolutely. You could do it physically. You could do it virtually.
That's a good one, Sean. I like that. I'm an avid podcast listener. I consume a lots of information and interviews. And the ones that really attract me are the ones where you kind of like you're eavesdropping on a conversation. It's not pre-formatted. It's not 20 minutes, 20 questions, like certain entrepreneur on fire. They've got their place, but you're not learning anything.
Don't even get me started.
I know, Sean. But it's those ones where you're eavesdropping on a conversation where you get some deep thinking, deep insights from the hosts, some well thought out questions, and you're literally having a fireside conversation with someone, and you just happen to be there enjoying a little brandy or a whiskey alongside with them. And there's some great podcasts, there's some great interviewers out there. And I suppose as well, along that same vein, Sean, is don't necessarily worry about the business podcasts. You can learn a lot from different industries. And I listen to a lot of comedy, Sean, and I learn a lot about copywriting from comedy because it's all about where the pauses, the breaks, the phrases, the punchlines. Yeah,
it's all about timing.
I do learn a lot about copywriting from comedy writers. So don't just think you're
I'm trying to mess with him. I'm not knocking him off his game. He's giving me that look.
That's all I've got to say. You may continue.
That's funny. Anyway, he's absolutely right. He is absolutely right. You can learn a lot from many different people in many different industries. Vary your spread. There's a lot of interesting content out there. I love learning from other people. I actually nicknamed my vehicle the Mobile University because what do? As soon as I'm in there, I'm listening to Audible books. One of my favorite things. Another side tip. Would you like to learn the secret of reading 10 books a day? Okay. This is something I love. If you can do this, you can rapidly become an expert in any industry. There's a thing called Get Abstract. Now, what this does is it reads books. Most of them are nonfiction. They're like, business books or nonfiction books, whatever. And they do an executive summary. In other words, they cut all the stuff out that is a complete waste of time, and they focus on the core message, the lessons, the abject lessons. I could take a 300-page book. It can be 15 pages. Okay? I get an executive summary from there. I'll read it. I'll think, okay, that's interesting. Then I'll get another one on the similar topic. Boom. And I can read 10 books in a day just by reading these executive summaries and really absorb a lot. And then if I want to dive deeper, maybe I'll go pick up one of the books or what have you, or get the Audible version so I can listen to it in the vehicle. But it cuts through so much stuff. You can condense your knowledge and learning down just like that. Okay? I do that all the time. Because of this one.
If you're going to say that, Sean, if you're going to say that, you've got to do it a la Eddie Murphy from the 80s. Just like that. Go on, you've got to do it now, Sean. You've got to do it.
Unpublishable.
Everybody, who wants Sean to camp it up and go just like that?
Oh, just like that.
Perfect.
Anyway, now that I've highly embarrassed myself, thank you very much.
I've got one for the blackmail archives now. We're 1-1, Sean.
Okay. So, billionaires also create their destiny. Okay? They decide what they want to do and they go do it. They focus on where they want to be and they will do everything to get there. They don't wait on it to be handed to them on a silver platter. They don't wait on the reliance of someone else to do it all for them. They decide what they want to do. They execute. Okay? They're not going to wait for anyone else. They are very self-reliant. They will cut, craft, and mold their world around them so that they can do that. You can do this too. All you've got to decide is where you want to go, where's that destination, and then you basically allow that to be your lighthouse to pull you out of the fog of where you are right now. Now, we've covered this in a lot of depth over the last couple of days. I don't want to belabor the point, but that is a very powerful billionaire trait. The next one is they churn failure into success. Now, I touched on this yesterday. Every problem, every barrier is an opportunity in disguise. You just have to find it. Think about this for a moment. I've got my weird little diagrams. I'm going to do another one. There's two types of people in the world. We'll call this guy's Fred. He's had a lot of issues, and all his failures are stacked on top of it. And I'll put a big F here. Failure, mistakes, failure. Another big one over here. And they let him crush him down until he can't take it anymore and he gives up. Most people in life, most business owners, most entrepreneurs, this is what they're fighting all the time. They're trying to hold it all up above their heads, trying to support themselves, trying to walk. This was me as well. For years. Hustling and grinding, trying to get that to work. Then we've got, we'll call him Roger. Roger takes every one of those failures and creates himself a step. Takes every one of those failures and lets them and arranges them so he can create momentum. He can elevate himself towards success. Now, who do you want to be? Roger or Fred? Or we'll call it Frederica and Roberto or Roxanne. Doesn't matter. Who do you want to be? Do you want those failures and mistakes of the past to crush you? Or do you want them to build the building blocks and foundation that you build your future on? You see, billionaires churn those failures into success. They figure out, okay, do I have to pivot here? What can I do? Am I going to mistake?
Tara's way of describing this, Sean, beautiful phrase, failing upwards.
Failing upwards, absolutely.
I like that, Tara.
Yeah, failing forwards is the way I like to describe it, but failing upwards, absolutely. The end of the day, you can let your mistakes and failures define you, crush you, and basically obliterate any hope of success. Or you can let them be the lessons, you can let them be the guides, and again, move forward. I don't have any problems. I don't have problems anymore. I have lessons. I don't have mistakes and failures. I've got lessons.
Well, here's another kind of way of viewing this. You see this a lot in sports, Sean, where like the one I'm thinking about, I think it was Nick Faldo in the early 90s was being interviewed, and he was talking about he's never missed a shot. In the last 20 years of playing, he's a golf player for anyone who doesn't know, but he hasn't missed a shot in the last 20 years at the time. And the interviewer said, no, yes, you have. You've missed plenty of shots. You've not won a tournament in the last 3 years type of response. And he went, but up here, and he's tapping his head, I've never missed a shot in the last 20 years. And it's that difference of mindsets, the thinking deeply, the thinking differently, the always looking for the opportunity. It's that different mindset that allows you to succeed. If you prepare fully, which is another kind of pillar that we were talking about earlier in the week, if you're fully prepared and planning for it, then even if you don't actually succeed at this stage, you've learned something from it, and you can have another opportunity to gain at it in the future. So, always be thinking differently, and that opportunity that you were thinking. I'm kind of going around in circles here, Sean. Help, bail me out here. Bail me out. It's you're thinking differently.
Absolutely. It's whether you think you can or whether
that's what I was trying to get on to. That's what I was trying to say, Sean.
All your thunder. Anyone would think you had a script in front of you, but no. That's something we talk about a lot. It is very important. But it leads on to the fifth and final important one. And to my mind, the most important one of them all. They are investors. And I'm not talking about money into the stock market, into real estate. They are continuously investing in themselves through their education, from their mindset, from what are they doing in life. They're investing their time, their resources into being the very best versions of themselves. They're investing in being not only for themselves, but for those around them. Pay it forward, creating a ripple effect. Here's the thing. When you are successful yourself, when you are continuously moving forwards, you're adopting these superpowers. Each one of these superpowers are ones you can adopt, and you can start thinking like a billionaire. When you start applying that and people start seeing the difference in you, you have an influence on those around you, like a stone in a pond. Every action, every decision you make, when you are focused on your path to your own personal success, has a ripple effect on everyone in your sphere of influence. Could be your family, could be relatives, could be friends. And if they're not on board with that, hey, you know what? That's up to them. Doesn't stop you moving forward. And those that catch that wave of the ripple, okay, wascally wabbits. When you catch the ripple and the wave, they're pulled along. They've got that current, and they're like, oh, something different. What's he doing? Oh, I see how he solved that problem. I'll try that myself. What happens? They cast their own stones, and that causes a ripple. And other people in their sphere of influence are caught in that ripple. What happens is very soon you have a net effect that everything you do has a wide impact and influence. So what we're going to do here, we're going to do this together. We're already a few steps down this journey together, is think differently. Be prepared to invest in yourself so that you can be the very best version of yourself, so that you can break free of the chains, the bungee cord, get out of the quicksand and everything else, so that you can move forward to create that unhustled state of mind, that unhustled state of being able to do what you want, when you want, and have the resources, aka time and money, to actually do that. And by doing so, all sorts of magical things can happen. Now, Phil, how are we doing for time?
Because we're doing all right here, Sean. We're 38 minutes in, Sean. We're a little bit, we're a lot ahead of schedule. I can't get words out today, Sean. I don't know about what's going on. We're ahead of schedule.
Okay, so what I want to do, very simple. I'm going to kind of wrap it up and circle it around because I could go down a few rabbit holes here. So let's do this. Which I want you to put this in this video. First of all, let's do this. Let me ask you a question. Do you get this? Put a hell yes in the comments if you get this.
I'm there, Sean. My own hell yes. I'm a product preaching from the converted status. Hell yes, I'm there.
Okay, beautiful.
Who's with me?
Absolutely. I just want you just put it down. Hell yes, I get it. Okay, perfect. Now, your homework for today, and I hate to use the word homework, but your little exercise is which of these three are the most important to you right now? Where do you think if you just did 3 of these 5, just 3, which ones are going to make the most impact in your life? So this is what I want you to do. These 3 billionaire traits are the ones that will have the most impact, and then list them. Okay? And then tell me why. Because I want to know you, where you are, so that when we move on from this, we're in the
Step to the right, Sean. I'll just take a little screenshot. And if you do your pretty Dolly Birds pose, here's one I prepared earlier. I'll get that in the comments for everyone to so they can choose which of the 3 that they like.
Absolutely. And I'll copy and paste them down in a thread as well. So next, tomorrow, we're going to be diving into an industry. I'm going to take a little bit of a business twist on this. We're going to be diving into the dynamics of a $150 billion industry, which no one is talking about. Okay? It's one of the keys to being unhustled. Okay? And when we dive into this in a little more depth, you're going to see why 2020 and the next decade are going to be centered around this. And it's very much in alignment with everything we talked about so far. So that's going to be tomorrow at 2 p.m. Be there or be square, and we will rock on from there. So with that being said, thank you again for your time and your attention. It is truly appreciated. You are already investing in yourselves by being here continuously. And we are going to do a watch party later on. I'm going to actually stream all of the videos that we've done so far. That'll happen probably we'll do it at 4 p.m. Eastern. I just had to look at the clock and see what time we're actually at, and then we'll rock on from there. So with that being said, thank you again. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.